Like Ostrat mentioned, like many of you, I'm a business operator. My first company, I started with 6 credit cards, believe it or not. And today it's a B2B SaaS company that's traded on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. It's worth 2.6 to 2.7 billion, which is hard to imagine for me, but honestly, a lot of it was luck. My second company, Dr. Base, we created not really to make money, but we were frustrated with American healthcare. I'm sure a lot of you are frustrated with Ukrainian healthcare as well. And we wanted to create a way for Americans to be able to text message their doctor. So even though we kind of started it as a non-profit motive, we actually sold it in an all-cash deal a couple of years ago. My CTO, Misha, was Ukrainian, and 22 years of building companies in San Francisco. Misha wanted to go back to Ukraine, so we're starting a new software venture here in Kiev. We have an office in San Francisco and Kiev as well, but I spend about half my time in Ukraine, and probably like many of you, to be honest, I love it and hate it and love it. We can talk about that over beers later. This is my contact information. If you guys have any comments, criticisms, whatever, feel free to message me. Okay, so here's my disclaimer. I love Ukraine. I want to see it get better. I think Ukrainian culture is incredibly tolerant, maybe not towards gays yet, but I think to foreigners, it's a very tolerant, very open culture. I spent a lot of time in Germany, and I love Germany, but you know, only in Ukraine, as a foreigner, have I been able to make so many good, fun-loving, smart friends, and really some of the smartest, most talented, hungry people and friends now I've met here in Ukraine. So, disclaimer, I love Ukraine. I just think that we need a bit more soft skills training to really unlock the full potential we have here in this country. And like I said, I have an office in Unit City in Kiev. We love it. And I also teach a soft skills class at Taraf Shevchenko. Again, I love Ukraine. I want to see it get better. Okay, that's the nice part. The next slides may not be so nice. Okay, so we know the outsourcing market, the services market, it's increasing, but the supply of vendors is also increasing. I think when I first visited Ukraine 2 years ago, the outsourcing market looked healthy, and now maybe the number of vendors has increased 20, 25%, but it feels like it's doubled, right? And I see a lot of the smaller and mid-sized services companies really competing on price and doing a lot of sales methodologies with that I think could be drastically improved, right? The other thing is, like, I'm old, I'm 45, so I've seen 2 economic booms and busts. And every bust, right, and you gotta think it's coming, right? If Silicon Valley and EU, the Nordic countries like Norway, look, if they have a cold, it's gonna feel like we get a disease here, right? And the big companies like the SoftServes of the world, the Luxoft, they'll weather the storm. The very small outsourcers, they'll compete on price anyway, so they'll figure out a way to make money. What I've seen in the economic downturns, and I've lived through 2 of them, is that when the recession comes, and it always comes, right, it really hurts the mid-market outsourcing, outstaffing companies. You have 50, 150, 200 people working for you. The recession comes and things get a bit more difficult. So how do we combat this, right? I think we just get better at sales. We get more efficient, right? And we start building a pipeline. Just as a quick poll, how many of you guys are responsible for sales or a profit and loss balance sheet? Wow, a lot of you. Okay, so we're gonna learn some shit today. Oh, I should also mention, everyone in my family, except my mother, curses like we're in the army. So please don't be offended. I just curse a lot. Okay. Look, we as people that have to sell and earn money for our companies, we face a myriad of problems, right? One of them is, look, most IT outsourcer or outstaffing messages, they sound like spam, right? And again, I understand 1% of the time when they respond and you close a deal, it feels like 1% works 100% of the time, right? But there's two problems with that. One, the 99% of the people that don't respond, I think, have a negative view of Ukraine. And that's a shame, right? We all love this country. And the other more immediate shame that affects us is we don't build a pipeline with the 99% of the people that don't respond, right? And then, of course, and this is normal for all sales departments, we have high churn. Sales is a tough job, right? So we're always trying to keep our sales force motivated, happy, and retained. So I have some radical solutions, which may sound radical, but these are trends that companies have adopted in Silicon Valley and elsewhere. And I'm sure some of you guys are already adopting this, so please don't think I'm trying to tell you something that you probably already know, have plans for, or maybe already implemented. But these are methodologies that I've used in both of my companies to really, I hate the word successful, but for lack of a better word, become successful. Okay. One of the ideas is message less and research more, right? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. We ask our sales reps to message 50 people, go on LinkedIn and message 100 people, right? But I've actually seen the opposite is true. When you take time to message less people and it's a focused target, you actually make more money today, and tomorrow you build a better pipeline because you're delivering value through your content and you're building a relationship, and we'll talk about how to do that in just a second, okay? And the other thing I like to do is I love retargeting, right? Meaning, if I send you an email and there's a link or a document and you open it, I'm going to use software that makes sure that you automatically see my ads on Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn, right? So I message you once, you don't respond, but you're going to automatically start seeing my brand, right? We call it multi-channel messaging. It works, right? That's why we don't want to just send you a message on LinkedIn. I also want to find your email address, send you an email, and then when you're on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, you also see my brand and my brand message, right? Retargeting is cheap, and it works great. The other thing that really has been pioneered by Salesforce, and I think we all know Salesforce, the CRM company, right, is that they split up their sales team into specializations, right? So it's no longer, hey, you're in sales, make us money, right? It's split into the data gathering team, right? Meaning you're collecting your prospects and targets and you're trying to get as much specific information about them as possible. I'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. And then you have your SDRs, or the people that set appointments. You have your seniors that speak impeccable English, that have great sales skills, that are closing. And then you have your marketing team that's doing sequencing and dripping on them, right? Okay. And of course, we're entering an era where the sales tech stack it's expensive, but it's expensive for a reason, because it works, right? So ZoomInfo. How many of you guys use Datanyze? Okay, 3, 4. Okay. There's a lot of great tools. Outreach. I think I see you, Max. You have an outreach-like tool, which I'm sure is awesome. I haven't used it yet, but I will. Email Hunter, Sales Navigator. These are all great tools, right? They cost money, but in a model where you're messaging less with specialized sales teams, these tools become invaluable. Okay, so here's what I see as the 3 tiers of outsourcing sales class, right? You have, I would say, the top 5%, the 5 people of you that use Datanyze. They divide sales teams into specialty teams, data gatherers, appointment setters, closers, and the sequencers, the follow-up marketing people. They invest in tools. They invest in content. And this is something I really want to emphasize. We need content to separate ourselves from the rest of the people that fucking send endless amounts of spam, right? I think the tier 2, which is I think a lot of the really good folks that come to conferences and invest in conferences like this, right? You have a relatively high level of English. You probably have a US or UK or EU-based sales team. You have a small office there. And you have some level of tools, some level of more sophisticated sales compensation, or you have a more sophisticated strategy for how you pay your salespeople, right? And then there's the tier 3 folks. You have a presence on Upwork, you have a lot of good reviews, and you're basically competing on the fact that you're cheap and you've got good reviews, right? And that's what I call the tier 3 players. And I'd say in this region of the world, that's about 3 out of 4, maybe a little bit more, right, of the IT outsourcers. Okay, so here's what and I know I hate a lot of text, but there it is, a lot of text. I think the 4 pillars for increasing sales and being an optimal sales team, and not just in my 2 companies, but I've been an investor, an advisor, probably in about 24 companies, including Upwork, actually. I was a growth marketing advisor to Upwork when they were called Odesk. And in every single successful sales organization that has outpaced their competitors, they have done all 4 of these things, right? Let me get out of your way if you want to take a picture. They've done all 4 of these things. 1, they've had a specialization in their sales teams, right? Gone are the days where you hire 4 people, these guys are good, they're closers, let's fucking hire them and get them to kill. That's old, right? The sales teams that outperform are specialization organizations. They have data gatherers, they're using data knives to just figure out, here are the top prospects, right? We have something called an ICP. How many know what an ICP is? ICP? Okay, good. We're going to learn some shit today. ICP is your ideal customer profile. And instead of trying to get money from everybody, it is far better of a strategy to target people that fit your ICP. You look at your top 20% of your customers that are driving 80% of your revenue, that's your fucking ICP, right? And you should only be targeting those. I totally understand when there's a small customer or some potential whale that has some need that we don't service yet. It's not our core specialty. We want to grab it, right? But my argument and history shows that the sales organizations that are disciplined and go after their ICP are the ones that win in the long term. And long term, I mean 2, 3, 5 years. How do we do that? We go after our ICP by splitting up our sales teams into data gatherers, sales development reps, the people that set appointments, the closers, these are your top reps that may have started as data gatherers or appointment setters, right? And then you have your sales consultants, which is just a fancy term for marketing people that continually drip and sequence content using something like Max's tool. This is a huge advertisement for Max today. Okay. The other aspect is that they use better tools, right? Whether it's Data Knives or Email Hunter, ZoomInfo, Outreach, HubSpot, Marketo for the email sequencing, Fingerprint for the retargeting. We'll go into that in a minute, right? The other thing too, and HubSpot, the email sequencing company, talks about this a lot. What they have seen and what I have seen in all of the companies with hyper-successful sales teams is they have marketing teams that invest heavily in content, right? It's what differentiates you, and content is what gets 99% of the people that don't respond to you at first to eventually re-engage with you somewhere down the line, right? Okay, and the final thing, and I learned this the hard way because for years I just had a simple sales compensation formula. You're a sales guy, you close 5 deals, you get 5 times X, right? But I think it's far better to say, look, you close 5 deals, I give you 5 times X minus 20%. And then if you close 10 deals, I'll give you 5 times X plus 20%. And should you close 11 deals, I'll give you 5 times X plus 50%. When we do the math, we think as owners, wait, but I make less money. But actually, when you incentivize with a heavier top line this way, you actually make more money in the long run. Again, long run, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Could be 18 months, right? The other thing is we tell our marketing people, write content, put it out there, get a lot of likes, right? How fucking stupid is that? We compensate our salespeople by the amount of dollars they bring in, but marketing has the same function, and we just pay them the same $1,500 a month, right? Instead of saying, look, I'll pay you $900 a month, and I'll pay you an extra $900 depending on how many shares, how many likes, or how many times people re-engage with it. And if we use retargeting, we could just say, look, how many times your content that you wrote retargeted someone so they continually see our ads? I'm going to pay you for every retargeting interaction your content draws, right? Same thing for appointment setters, same thing for data gatherers, right? Okay, so this is what the cycle should look like, right? You have a data hunter team, they're on Data Nice, they're looking for your ICP, they're on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, they're looking for your ICP. Fuck everybody else, focus on your ICP, right? Then the appointment schedulers are scheduling appointments. Dear Mr. John, I'm going to be in San Francisco from October 4th to 14th. May we meet to find ways of cooperation, right? You have your account managers, which are your closers, right? And in many sized outsourcing, outstaffing organizations, that's going to be the CEO. I don't think that's a great idea, actually, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. And then you have your sales consultants, which are, again, just your marketers that are writing content and sequencing people with the investments in content you made. Before we go into this, have I told you how much I love Ukraine? I fucking love Ukraine. Okay, so how many have heard of the Me Too movement? All the ladies, you better raise your hands. She's like, no, I don't like Me Too. Okay, look, I know it's so tempting and it makes logical sense. Get the beautiful girl to be the SDR and message these people, right? I would argue that we're in an era now where this looks terrible. It looks terrible for your organization. It looks fucking terrible for Ukraine. Why are we continuing to do this, right? Also, let's look at her message. I work at such and such company, software development company. We suggest our devs on subcontract basis. May I ask whether you could consider outsourcing of some development works, right? This is something that we call non-idiomatic English. British people, American people, we don't speak this way, right? So why is Olga speaking like this, right? And what's the value she's doing? I get 50 of these messages a week. What's the difference? There's no difference. This is the very definition of spam. This is fucking spam. Why are we spamming the world? Thank you. Okay? Again, 1% of the time, it works 100% of the time, but 99% of the time, people think Ukraine has become the new Nigerian email scam of IT. Let's stop this. We're better than this. Okay, Artem. Hi, I'm Artem from such and such, a leading blockchain consulting. I don't do blockchain. I do B2B SaaS. Read my fucking LinkedIn profile before you waste your time and your employer who's paying you to write this message before sending it to me. I can't tell you how many of these I get, okay? Also, we plan to be in Singapore. Why would I be in Singapore? I live in San Francisco and Kiev. Also, don't use caps and don't use exclamation, right? You can only do this if you're someone's boss and they've done something bad, right? All right, here's another one. Anna, beautiful Anna, from Minsk, okay? Hello, Mr. Sung Kim, thank you a lot for adding me. Now, here's the thing, and this is the common thing, right? We think people give a shit enough to read that you're experts at, let's read it. 2D, 3D, game development, Unity 3D, Windows Phone, iOS, Android, C, C++, C#, PHP, .NET, Java, Objective-C, JavaScript, SQL, Drupal, Joomla, WordPress, Zendy, iOS, Android, WordPress, PHP, Unity 3D. Like 3 of you people fell asleep while I was reading this. Why would you think that prospects are going to read all this, right? They're not. The other thing is, as soon as our eye scans and sees all this, we know nobody is the master of everything. So all we think now is, you're a fucking liar. You'll do anything for money. And Some of you that are clapping are paying Anna to write this. What a fucking waste of money. Alex. Now, this is what I think is the best of the worst, because his English is idiomatic, right? Almost. Almost. The other thing, and this is why we invest in content, because salespeople should not be writing this stuff. Masterful marketers, masterful motherfucking marketers should be writing this stuff. Not Alex, even though Alex probably spent time in the US or England and learned to write like this. And this is the best that I've seen, okay? It says, thanks for connecting. Now, here's the thing. Most emails are opened on what? Your phone. What do we look at when we get a message from a stranger on our phone? Or even from LinkedIn that says, a stranger messaged you on LinkedIn. We look at the name, okay, Alex such and such, I don't know you. We look at the subject line, and then we look at the fragment of the first sentence that appears on our phone. That should be like a Google Ads. That is a Google text ad. In that 1.5 seconds, I'm staring at that new message. It's like a Google text ad. Should I tap and read or not? Right? But so let's look at what Alex's Google ad says on my iPhone. It says, hi, John, thanks for connecting. I think we both find our time valuable. So sorry for this long read is where it ends on my iPhone. Now, imagine you get a message from me, you don't know who the fuck I am, right? Some strange Korean guy sends you a message and says, Irina, thank you for connecting. Sorry for this long message. Please open it and read my long message. You're not busy, right? You're not busy, I'm not busy. We have nothing to fucking do, right? Okay, the company I'm with, Lanegate Software, blah, 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 and this is a good one. So I actually didn't block out the name of the company. But still, here's something else that's wrong. It uses a buzzword, technology transformation. Don't use buzzwords. Just get a list of the buzzwords that people in the United States and England make fun of, and don't use them. Because he uses a buzzword like technology transformation, he almost fooled me that he was American. Until he used that. And it told me, no, you're not American, right? And there's nothing wrong with not being American, but as long as you know, and I know that you know that I know that you know, right? Don't use buzzwords, all right? Okay, this one's from Dima. All right. Here's the thing. We talked about CEOs sending you messages. The CEO should not be doing cold call outreach. It says that you're small and you're desperate for sales. That's not a great image, right? All right, Roman. Again, think about what this says on my iPhone from a total stranger. John, I'm visiting San Francisco in October. When can we meet? Because you're not busy, you're not worried about your safety, you just like to meet random people from Ukraine and Russia. When can we meet, John? Why? Who would respond to this? Right? Sounds creepy. All right. Here's another one from beautiful Anna. Right? Okay. Here's the thing. Down here, they list the prices. Right? Don't list prices. It already tells people you're playing a pricing game. Okay? Now, some people will say, well, John, it's a crowded market. We haven't really established ourselves yet. We have to compete on price, which is, I guess, okay today, I guess. But long term, I have seen this not 99%, 100% of the time. If you're a business that competes on price, you will always be struggling. You will always come home to your spouse, and your spouse will say, well, when is this over? I want to go on holiday. You said it was going to. You will always struggle, okay? It's an illusion to think that you can compete on price and grow a business that you love. Okay. Again, just this, I mean, do we really think people are going to scan, be like, oh, we're a Magento shop. We're Magento. Where's Magento? Boom, here it is. Let's talk. All right. This one, poor Anton, he forgot that he sent me a message the first time because he was too fucking lazy to look up at LinkedIn and send me and see, oh, I sent this message before, right? And when you go to poor Anton's LinkedIn profile, you'll notice something funny. He started his career not too long ago as an account manager, as an affiliate manager in marketing. Then he went into sales and became a sales manager. And now, I don't know if you can read this, but he's a fucking CFO. He's either a genius or an idiot. In 2 years, he went from marketing to sales to chief financial officer. What do I think of Anton and his company? Here's my money, Anton, take it. All right, beautiful Miss Taran, which I don't even know if it's her real last, is that even a real Ukrainian last name? Here's the other thing, and I see this with some, not you, but some outsourcers. Vlad Blesarovsky from Tarashenko becomes Alex Price that went to Stanford. This is a terrible image we're sending of Ukraine, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work, okay? All right, so whether that's her real name or not, we have a proven PHP team. We don't use PHP, so who gives a shit, right? And here's where it gets better. This is her LinkedIn profile. I just graduated from international tourism. She's selling me on IT services. But she graduated from international tourism. She has experience mountain hiking, and I have experience to live abroad, but not long enough where her English is idiomatic. So I tend to work in tourism while sending me, one of you may know that girl. And she ends her LinkedIn profile with, but most of all, I like to travel because I love holidays. Someone is paying Ms. Taran to write this message, and you are throwing your money away. And here's the thing. Some people do go to the person's Facebook before you give them your money, before you agree to have a meeting with them. This is a real person who sells IT outsourcing services, right? What does this 9-pack of photos on her Facebook say? I'm in fucking love with myself, right? Give me your money for IT outsourcing services. I fucking love me so much, I need the money. If you insist on using beautiful women to do your cold outreach, and I highly suggest we evolve as a country and culture away from this, but if you insist, make them clean up their social media, right? This doesn't fool anybody. Thank you. You're the only one. Everyone else here is a sexist, misogynist pig. Okay. From Michael. Could you spare 20 seconds for a survey? Now, this one is interesting because it's a little link baity, right? He's like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to do a survey just for fun. It's all fun, right? Look, sophisticated people don't fall for this, but it's interesting. Sergey, I'll be in San Francisco in June. Let's meet. And here's the other thing. Nobody uses the word cooperation. Stop using the word goddamn cooperation. It doesn't mean anything to us, right? It's a nothing word in the English language. But everywhere it's like cooperation. Can we cooperate? How do we cooperate? Right? Stop using cooperation. It doesn't fucking mean anything to us. All right? And by the way, who gives a fuck whether you're going to be in San Francisco? There's 1 million tourists that come to San Francisco. What do? Why should I give a shit? And all of these messages, they don't answer the number one question that we as great marketers that write great content should answer. Who gives a shit? Nobody answers that. All right, but what if we answered, 1, who gives a shit? 2, offered something of value. And 3, because we did 1 and 2, we created a pipeline. If you create a good pipeline by following this methodology, over 12 to 18 months, you'll see that 4 to 5% of your pipeline will just re-engage with you, right? I know you have Solidity engineers. We didn't need it, but we have a new blockchain project we're looking at, so let's talk. Okay, if you use Datanyze, and I did this on my first company, Datanyze will show you some basic stuff because it has it in its database, right? But if you use the paid version, it would tell you this is what their tech stack is, right? So you don't have to say, we are masters of C#, C++, .NET, ASP. No, you could just say, hey, we're masters of Python, Postgres, and Node.js, the 3 technologies you use the most. So here's a sample of what a good marketer would write. Now, notice the Google ad sentence fragment that appears on my iPhone. Are you overpaying your engineers, right? Of course we think we're overpaying our engineers. Those spoiled little shits. Of course we are. And they keep asking for more money every year. Of course we're overpaying. Am I going to open this email? Of course I am. Okay? And what does the first sentence fragment say? John, your name came up in conversation the other day. That's what I see on my iPhone. Am I going to click this? Tap it on my phone? Of course I am. All right. You'll see here that because I use Datanyze, I know that you use Python and React. So I'm only going to list those 2 technologies. Like magic, I know exactly what your tech stack is. And I'm not asking you for anything. I'm answering the question, why do you give a shit? Because number 2, I'm delivering something of value. Because I took the time to create a small report, right, about the different wages for Python and React engineers in the different cities. It's easy to put this report together. There's websites like Jobs, DO. You can put it together yourself. The data is there, right? If you sent me a report that said, John, I've done a quick study of the top 5 cities in Ukraine for Python and React, here's the different prices. Am I going to open that? Of course I am, right? And if I open that, there's a way that you can retarget me, so I start seeing your ads all over Facebook and Google, right? So you don't have to keep sending me spam. I'll just have you and your brand in my mind. Okay. And here I say, look, if you have questions about how Ukraine became the #1 IT outsourcing destination in Europe, humble brag, that's not so humble, and the major pitfalls to avoid, talk to me before you make any mistakes. Email me anytime. Now, here's a link to the report. This is what this email, this Google ad, looks like on my iPhone. It says, are you overpaying your engineers? Well, of fucking course I am. Here's the fragment. John, your name came up the other day. What do you mean my name? What are you talking about? What did you say about me? Of course I'm going to open this email. Okay, so we have a link-baity subject line. We establish a personal connection in the first sentence. I know exactly what the tech stack is. I deliver value with great content. I know you want to read it. I attempt to establish a relationship first before I ask you for money, and I use a retargeting link. There it is. Now, anyone that clicks this link is automatically going to see my ads on Facebook, Instagram, Google, and LinkedIn. It's going to follow them around. And retargeting is cheap. It's cheaper than hiring a salesperson. Okay? There's a technology called Fingerprint without the E.io. There's no E in the spelling. And this is what it looks like to your prospect that clicks this link. I hate this picture because the rest of the article is great about Ukraine. This tank is terrible. But this is what they see. And you'll notice that a retargeting link does a couple of things. You see it's GDPR compliant at the top, so you see this like cookies disclaimer. Prospects don't care, they don't notice it, but you're GDPR compliant. And it strips away all of these ads, right? So they're only focused on the content. All right, I don't have a lot of time left, so real quick, I want to show you my $10 million LinkedIn message. My second startup, Dr. Base, It was 2015, almost 2016, and valuations were crazy for healthcare companies. Obama was still president, and I thought, I got to sell this company. The valuations are too high, right? So for those that don't do sales on LinkedIn, you do it through networking. My argument is there's a lot of money to be had on LinkedIn, and this is my $10 million LinkedIn message. It breaks a lot of rules, right? But there were 5 CEOs that I wanted to buy my company, and I needed a bid from the first one, right? Because this guy was the most hated by the other CEOs. And I knew if I got an offer from him, the other CEOs would go into an irrational mode to win, right? So here's my $10 million LinkedIn message, because that was the offer he gave, which we turned down, and here it is. Now, the subject line is Patient Fusion. The name of the company was not Patient Fusion, but Patient Fusion was his super secret stealth skunkworks operation that I had heard about. So, boom, the first thing he sees is something that's close to his heart. The second is the name of my company, which he had never heard of. And the third was a common interest we shared, because I researched his ass. I Googled his name, I read his blog post, I saw he loved motorcycles and motorcycle racing. So, I love motorcycles, he loves motorcycles. So what's the goal of this message? Is for us to both go on a very romantic motorcycle ride off of Highway 1 in San Francisco, right? So we could just talk, all right? Now, this is unusual because it's long. But it's long because it draws him in, right? The first thing I say is we actually go to the same gym. Is someone going to say no to a meeting with someone when you're going to see them awkwardly at the same gym all the time? It's difficult, right? Then here I establish my bona fides. My last 2 companies were VC funded like yours. I tell him, I know what you're trying to do with this new skunkworks project, Patient Fusion. In fact, I talked to your CTO about it. So now I'm further establishing, right, my synergies with him, okay? And then I end with, hey, I'm going to see a motorcycle race this weekend. Just to let him know, other than work, we have some commonalities, right? Okay, so we talked about this. I don't recommend a long form message like this unless you have a strategy like this, right? But these strategies work because we're all human beings, and we're all driven by the same basic psychological components that make us human. Okay, so we talked about tools, Datanyze, Email Hunter, Outreach, HubSpot, Fingerprint. We talked about better carrots, we talked about better content, we talked about better team structure. This is my LinkedIn, that's my email, that's my WhatsApp. If you guys have questions or you want to send me your killer new outsourcing email where you are not the masters of everything, but you are the masters of my technology stack, please send it to me. Thank you. Do we have a Q&A now? Is there a Q&A now?
Yeah. We have time for a couple questions.
My name is Ivan. Thank you very much for your presentation. Really like it. I have a related question, what you was talking about selling and so on. Do you believe in conference, to be like, represent your company at conference, to be sponsored at conference, stay with table, marketing materials, and say, okay, let's buy myself?
So is your question, are conferences worth going to if you're a vendor? Fuck. To be honest, when I started my first company, I never went to a single conference. I'm pretty bearish on conferences. I think conferences are great for networking and making friends. And so I think this is special because we wouldn't be able to meet and drink and get shit-faced tonight together if we weren't all together here in Lviv. But have I been to conferences where I'm like, oh my God, we just closed this huge deal? No, I think most of you guys will agree that are experienced. if you pay 10,000 euros for a booth, you're lucky if you break even on that booth, right? But look, I mean, business isn't just all about money. It's about making friends, and certainly I've made a lot of great friends through conferences, so I hope that answers your question and doesn't piss off the people that own IT Arena. I'm definitely not getting invited back next year, so let's party tonight, okay?
Hi. Have you actually went to that race with Ryan?
I'm sorry?
Have you actually went to that race with Ryan?
This is how psycho I am. No, what we did is we actually went on a motorcycle ride together, but I knew that he was a really fast, super competitive psycho. So the weekend before, I did the route by myself to practice. That's how. But look, I'm psycho. A lot of you super successful guys and girls here are probably psycho. Maybe that's what it takes. But yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Alex, and I would like to ask you, what are the best channels for targeting which works for you?
That's a great question. LinkedIn retargeting works really well. Google retargeting works. Facebook retargeting works well. Instagram does not work so well. But look, this is a little bit self-serving, but the software is free, and if you guys use the paid version, if you use IT Arena, if you decide to use a paid version, you'll get 50% off. And it's not expensive, but if you use a technology like Fingerprint, you can turn any PDF, any link, any YouTube video, you can turn it into a retargeting gateway. So when you send it to a prospect or you post it on social media and they watch your YouTube video, they're automatically going to start seeing specific Facebook, Google, LinkedIn ads. But they all work. I think LinkedIn is the most expensive but works the best. And then Instagram works the least. I don't know why. But great question. Yes?
Hi, John. The name is Vlad. Do you have any opinion maybe on, well, we were talking about outsourcing. What do you think about outbound campaigns for product, SaaS?
I mean, I'm a product guy. This is exactly what I do, to sell product, right? But look, whether it's a product or a service, it doesn't really matter. You still need me to open your email, right? Then you need to figure out how to retarget me, and then you need to build my trust, and then build a relationship with me. So even if I don't respond today, later I think, you know what, that guy gave me a great report. We do need to outsource, and our Indian center is shit. We need to move away from India. That's not an insult towards India. It's just an example. I'm from San Francisco, so we have to be very careful. But maybe we look at Eastern Europe. Who is that guy or gal that sent me that great report? Oh, Vlad, can we talk? I'm thinking of moving my staff to a different place, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a product or service. These principles hold true because, again, we're human beings. We're all driven by the same basic psychology.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We have time for one last question. Yeah, over
Hi.
here. Don't worry, we'll definitely can find John today after the conversation, and tomorrow we'll have a panel at 12 on startup stage, where you definitely can ask John even more questions. So write them down and don't worry. This gentleman was first here, I'm sorry.
Have you ever performed like the cold face-to-face sales, for example, that you visit some kind of conference or maybe party of CEOs and you like to talk about your product and to sell the services and you have never met these people?
Yes, of course. I mean, look, it's called an elevator pitch, right? Which is why I always encourage the startups that meet with me. When they give me a long pitch, I always interrupt them like the asshole that I am and say, look, shut the fuck up. What do you do in 7 words or less, right? So yes, absolutely. But the way to do that is to encapsulate everything that you do in 7 words or less. If you practice this 7 words or less, I know. But my product is so complicated and it's so special, it can't be encapsulated in just 7 words. But everyone must do it. Everyone must do it, okay? Great. Well, thank you guys. I hope to meet you all in Lviv.